Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the parenting show on Inspire FM. It's We've had a change of weather, we've had a change of atmosphere, a lot of wind, a lot of rain over a very dry spell, and but hopefully we are not going to have a very dry show. We have a guest on today, and we're discussing a very pertinent topic, and that topic is relationships when it comes to our younger children, siblings. Generally, how do you navigate parenting when it comes to relationships regarding your children? So, the title of today's show is Young Relationships. When Emotion Speaks, Does Iman Respond? There's some real challenges. I'm sure every single listener who's listening today to the Inspire FM parenting show will realize that this is one of the greatest challenges they are facing, navigating your children, navigating your teenagers, navigating your daughter, your son through this, what I would class as a very difficult phase. Uh, when you have all sorts going on in the chemistry, you have all sorts going out in the real world, when you're bombarded with one thing and one thing only, and then to help your children to navigate through this, what happens? And this inevitably leads to I, the relationships that our children, or the relationship, the ultimate relationship, which is to find a spouse, to find a partner, to find a husband, to find a wife. How does that translate? How does that transpire? And the challenges. I believe we have our guest who is Dr. Rizwan. Can I, before I introduce Dr. Rizwan, can I just get a quick uh, nod sound from Dr. Rizwan? Are you online? Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ridwan, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good, alhamdulillah. This is Dr. Ridwan, who's a London based GP, and he does a lot of work with the community. Obviously, very natural thing to do when you are a GP. I would call that outreach, and he does it very well. And I've read one of his articles. He runs a blog, and one of his articles is entitled "Now That You Like Each Other, What Next?" Or do correct me, Ridwan, if I got that title wrong. Firstly, a very warm welcome to you, Ridwan, on the Inspire FM parenting show. And all is well with you, I pray.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. It's good to hear your voice and good to see to finally be on your show. I've tuned in on many occasions, and it's some wonderful work that you do. And I'm really privileged for you to give me the opportunity to come on as well. Assalamu alaikum to all your listeners as well.
Wa alaikum salam and jazakallah khair for your kind words. If the listeners want to input or send, they are shy from ringing, or they want to just talk to us via text or WhatsApp, give us a WhatsApp or a text on 0779481 822. However, if you want to be part of this discussion, you have any questions or any suggestions or alternatives to what we are going to be discussing today, i.e., alternate solutions, feel free to give us a call. We'll take your call on 01582 481 822. Oh, Ridwan, where do we start with this topic? Relationships when it comes to our children.
Mm,
Personally, I think it's got harder and harder and harder. Um, we've gone from a generation of our mothers and fathers where this was not really a big issue
mm,
to now, actually, before we really get into the crux of the matter, actually, people, you have two sides of the spectrum. People are running towards it, and they want to, we see our younger generation, they want to get married, they're eager to go for it, they're eager to settle down. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got cold feet. They look
mm.
around them and they say, oh, look, this didn't work with this guy, and this didn't work with this auntie, and it didn't work with this uncle, and it didn't work with my cousin, and it didn't work with my nephew. So I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Do you find that this is a true reflection of what's out there, or is there some middle ground as well, Ridwan?
No, absolutely. So I wrote that article that you mentioned. It was actually as a response to a mother who messaged me because I write a parenting blog, and the mother messaged me from Pakistan, saying that her son who's at university, is having a relationship with another young woman in university, and she wanted some advice as to, like, what do I do? So this issue that you mentioned, it's yes, I think my father's generation were protected in some respects. My generation, I mean, you and I are probably from 1875. We're not that long ago, but
A bit
things,
too long ago, that is, Ridwan.
yeah. So I remember school. I remember being in school in this country, and I knew, you saw what happened, what the boys and girls were all talking about. Being at university was much the same. We're surrounded by all these ideas of freedom and love and relationships, and go and enjoy yourself and experiment. I mean, back in the 90s when I was at university, I remember the sort of the show that everyone was talking about was this thing called Friends. And it was a big hit apparently. I mean, I don't watch TV much, but it was all about what? It was all about relationships
Yeah,
and the ups and downs of all these relationships. And that's what you find, is that through media, through culture, on the school playground, that's all you have, that everyone's just talking about these things. And you find the situation where someone who's living in that environment, is growing up in that environment, exposed to these ideas, you either follow the crowd, and we see this sort of drift amongst a lot of our Muslim youth towards that, because it's natural. You don't want to be left out. You don't want to be different. You don't want to be
sure.
the nerd, as they say.
Yeah,
And you want to be part of doing what everyone else is doing. And it's becoming normalized, certainly in this society, and definitely also I see in the Muslim world, whether it's
yeah,
Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, all of these countries, these things are becoming normalized.
sure.
So it's, how do you then navigate, as you rightly say, through this? How do you protect yourself? What do you do, and what do young men do, what do young women do, and importantly, what do parents do to help our
Yeah.
children and young adults to sort of navigate through this?
Actually, something very interesting you mentioned, Ridwan. A mother from Pakistan contacted you
Yes.
after you wrote that article. So here we're not talking about a problem specific to one part of the world. It looks like, and it sounds like, and I even feel it, that it's a global issue now
Yeah.
on how young people start to navigate relationships.
Yes. Yes. No, this is
Um,
absolutely right. I think the thing here is that because of the sort of the internet and the way things have been sort of communicated through mass media, social media, these ideas are spread across the world. I mean, like, everyone watches Friends. Well, that was back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Now, whatever comes out in the cinemas, etc., is being pushed out.
sure.
These ideas are being pushed out. And sometimes these ideas, it's really interesting because sometimes these ideas are pushed out in a very romanticized way, as opposed to what is reality.
Yeah,
And I think this is something that people often don't see. And when you're young, everything looks all rosy and wonderful, but it's not quite the same as you get
sure.
older and you look
Sure.
at. I mean, I'm a GP, and
Yeah,
I get to speak to people about what really goes on in their lives,
yeah,
and that's when things aren't hidden. It's not the glow of social media. It's what really happens in your life.
sure.
And sadly, I get to see what happens to young men and young women, Muslims even.
Yeah,
I work in the East End of London, so a huge Muslim population. So yeah, I mean, all of these things, all the things that we as parents worry about, our children are going through. And to be honest,
absolutely.
it's not. Sometimes I think to myself, Subhanallah. I mean, like, considering what they're exposed to, I'm surprised that they can resist at all.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's, it's
I mean,
a challenge.
what I mean, again, it's so many things to unpack, and inshallah, I
Mm,
would love you, Ridwan, to
mm.
come on another show to
Yeah, yeah,
continue
sure.
this discussion.
Yeah,
But I mean, I'm a firm believer, Ridwan, that it's never the seed which is rotten; it's the
mm,
environment, it's the
mm.
soil.
Yeah,
And if you pick up that seed and put it in some very rich, uh, well lit, well watered soil with
Mm.
good fertilizer around it, that will blossom into a beautiful tree that will give you beautiful sweet fruits.
Yes.
So I never believe it's down to the individual. I for a good part of my life, I've never put any issue at the doorstep of any one individual.
Mm.
Rather, it's always the environment that affects. And I must say, Ridwan, and it'll be interesting to have your take, especially being a GP.
Mm.
I just find everywhere you look now, and this is not just a social media thing. I
Mm.
mean, it's in reality. You walk down the high street and
Yeah.
everything is so sexualized. You know,
Yes.
from the dresses of little infant girls to
Mm.
selling anything to some innocent things that me and you, when we were growing up, we wouldn't even think about attaching
Yeah.
or
Yes.
objectifying sex through
Mm.
that
Yeah.
commodity. I
Yes.
mean, there is such a cauldron of hormones flying around
Mm.
everywhere in society. How? I mean, firstly, I really want to try to make this very get a personal insight. Do you find that this objectification of every single commodity through sex or highly sexualized, do you find that these things are seeping through when your patients come through the door and the after effects of that?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, this whole issue. Look, we live in a society which believes in what one freedom, do what you want and enjoy your life to the max, and it also believes in making money in any way you can. And you put those two together, and you have a recipe for disaster. The corruption that arises from this. They've basically taken something which is pure, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created man and woman and put love in their hearts for each other. I mean, if you look at Adam alayhi salam, I mean, he was created in Jannah and he was by himself. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created from him. And it's interesting, it was from a rib, which is something which is close to his heart, his spouse, Hawa. So it there's an indication there that this there's a natural instinct between men and women, and it's there for a reason, which is as one of the ayat that I talk about, and of his signs is that the the sorry, just give me 1 second. لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. So, there are three things that, that Allah has created that He wants from us, from the spouses, that we have. You find comfort in your spouse, and then you find compassion and you find mercy. But what has happened in the West is that they've realized that, as sex sells, and you can make money, and love. Okay, you can make money from love. So what they do is that they commodify and commercialize everything. If you look at um, uh, Valentine's, for instance, it's a very good example. It's all about what you need to be buying for your spouse or the one that you love to show them that you love them. It's not about
Sure.
the little actions. It's about things. It's always about things. It's about, did you buy her a diamond ring? Did you take her to Paris? Did you buy all of? It's just things and things and things. It's all about commercialization, and obviously these things sell. Sex, as they say, sells. Whether you have the pornography industry, all of these things, and it's got a huge effect on people. And this effect is on multiple fronts. And there's obviously a physical aspect of this.
So
Someone someone who catches an STI or things like that.
sure,
Um,
sure.
I remember when I was a medical student and I sat in a sexual health clinic, and I was surprised by the number of Muslims who were turning up to these clinics. And so this was back in the 90s. So things have only got worse since then. And so there's the physical aspect of this. There's a psychological aspect. Again, when I see you can have a young woman who has got pregnant and then she has a termination. There's a lot of guilt associated with this. This is not
Of
a small
course.
thing. There's a huge amount of guilt that's associated with this, and that has to play long-term depression, all of these things that are common, anxiety, etc. And then, of course, you've got the spiritual aspect. I mean, I think for any Muslim, there's always a discomfort somewhere. There's a discomfort between the heart and in the mind that this is not what I should be doing, and that causes anxiety and agitation for any believer. So it's you see this, and I see this, the physical aspects, the psychological aspects. And the other thing I do is I'm also a khatib in the local community,
Oh,
and
subhanallah.
so I meet people, afterwards, and some of these discussions happen. You can see that spiritual aspect as well.
Sure. What I find very hard, Ridwan, is to, uh, I think the environment,
Mm.
look, I'm all up for the Sunnah, and the Prophet ﷺ has encouraged marriage and also has encouraged marriage at an early age.
Yes.
But I think getting married early is partly in my mind. I'm torn here, and I'm going to put it out there and for us to have a chat about.
Mm.
I think early marriage is a car crash.
Okay.
uh, and and not from the perspective of uh, I'm not a believer that you should have a house, a car, a job, a this, a
Mm.
that before you. I don't believe that's not why I think early marriage is a car crash. I'll tell
Mm.
you why I think early marriage is a car crash.
Go for it.
We live in a very highly sexualized society. Anyone who says to me that they are not affected by the environment is absolutely, I wouldn't accept it. Okay,
Mm.
so you have, let's talk about Adam, for example. So
Mm.
Adam, for example, is my son. Okay,
Mm.
he goes to school. He's affected by nudity. He's affected by the environment. um, he comes home. You've got TV, you've got social media, his social circles, they're all affected by this. And then, of course, at that age, there are some real uh, chemical imbalances taking place, as you would know above and
Mm.
beyond myself. In the body, there's a biological change taking place. Hormones are bubbling everywhere, and suddenly he comes to me and says, "Dad, uh, I need to get married, and it will save me from haram. It will save me from zina. I need to get married, and therefore." Uh, I'm going to start looking. Now,
Yeah.
in principle, I don't have a problem with that. But
Yes.
should relationships start from that
Mm.
that point in a journey? Should
Mm.
they start from the point where my hormones are uncontrollable and therefore I need to get married? Because I tell you what worries me
Yeah.
is what worries me is that if that's your basis for starting or to look for a spouse, I mean, what are you going to do uh, when those feelings or those desires are satisfied? Then what happens?
Yeah. No.
And this is really, for me, I'd say environment plays a massive role in sometimes pushing people the wrong way. I've
Yeah.
heard in the community so many people saying, "Look, brother, you should allow children to get married quick because it saves them from zina." Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I'm with it. I'm with it. But the purpose of marriage is not to just to save you from zina.
That's
Is
right.
the purpose of marriage is to give you sakina. The purpose of marriage is to find your best friend. The purpose of marriage is to find companionship. The
Mm.
purpose of marriage is to have someone who watch your back when you're down. The purpose of marriage is when you're down, someone puts their hand around you and says, "Don't worry, we'll get through this." The purpose of marriage is when them horrible b- rectangular brown things come through the door called bills. you know, you you through thick and thin, you live through it and you support each other.
Yes.
But if the premise of all of this is, "Dad, I need to get married, otherwise I will be I won't be safe from zina," I
Mm.
really honestly, I'm being very frank with you now, I think this basis of just this basis of getting married is a car crash waiting to happen.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think one of the problems of society as it stands now is that, of course, this whole issue, the man-woman relationship, has just been reduced down to sex, unfortunately. And because it's just that, and because young people are so agitated by this, this instinct is one of the most powerful instincts, and it's very destructive. And so obviously you can see, yes, you'd like to prevent a child from zina and all of this, but there needs to be maturity, and I think that's what's missing in our children, or the younger generation, perhaps. It's something that needs some work on. I mean, just on the point that you said about the meaning of marriage.
Sure.
Just to give an example, Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to be jealous of Khadija, because
Yes.
she was jealous of how the Prophet would always remember her, and she would say to him, like, sort of, why do you keep going on about this old woman? And his response was beautiful. He said, indeed, Allah did not grant me better than her. So he's referring to Khadija. She accepted me when people rejected me. She believed in me when people doubted me. She shared her wealth with me when people deprived me. And Allah granted me children through her, only through her. SubhanAllah. So this point about, what is life, what is marriage, is having that partner, that person who's going to help you through this life, fundamentally in your pursuit of the worship of Allah and your pursuit of getting to Jannah through Allah's mercy. And
Sure.
in that, all of the relationships of marriage, the sakina, the muadda, the mercy, all of these arise, the relationships, the children. A brother, when I was getting married, this is going back a few years, a brother advised me, look, he said two things to me. One, first thing, find a spouse who's going to be good for your children, because marriage is the institute through which you will raise your children to be what? To be worshippers of Allah. So you need to have a very stable environment in which you can do that. And it's hard enough as it is with everything that's going around. The other thing is that he talked about, the hadith of the Prophet, when he said there are four things that a man looks for. And he gave some advice and said, look, the thing about looks, and this is the problem today, is that everything is focused on lust as opposed to love.
Absolutely.
So love is, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created between man and woman. And it should be pure, as the example of the Prophet. You see how he described Khadija as someone who was his partner through the difficulties of his mission. But what has happened now is that we confuse love for lust, and because it's just what you love is what you're seeing.
It's very surface level.
Very surface level. What you love is just what you see, and you have to ask these sort of questions, like, if this person was looked different, or had an accident and was disfigured, or had put on a lot of weight, or something had chap, would you still love that person? And I suspect with this view that a lot of people wouldn't.
So
And
here's my first practical advice that I
yeah.
can give as to parents facing this situation, that dad, I need to get married, otherwise I want to commit zina. The advice from the Prophet ﷺ is get married or do what? Fast.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would very strongly be inclined to say to my children, if any of my children come to me, why does it always zina default to marriage? No, if there's a threat of
Yes.
zina, fast.
Yeah.
Going fast.
And it's not
Because
just
that would be, and if we, sorry, Ridwan, if we were living in a very conservative society, where these values and people have a moral compass and a moral anchor, then I would say, okay, let's think about marriage. But living in a highly sexualized society, I can't allow for my children's marriage to be based on protection from, or a highly sexualized society and protection from zina as a sole reason to get married.
Yeah. And this is, and even that aspect is actually warped. I mean, these ideas that are promoted in the West, especially through this disease of pornography, subhanAllah, it's really affecting people's expectations.
Ridwan, just hold
Yeah.
that thought. We are coming into a break in about 10 seconds, and then we will explore it. But definitely, we want to try to move on this discussion as well, so we can help our listeners.
Okay, inshallah.
Program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM. Inspire 105.1 FM.
Inspire Eid returns to Stockwood Park. Get ready for an incredible celebration at Inspire Eid on Friday, June 6th and Saturday, June 7th. Join us for 2 action-packed days for fun and joy at Stockwood Park, featuring thrilling rides for just £1 to £2. Delight your taste buds with an amazing array of world food and drink options, and dive into exciting games and activities for everyone. And the best part, entry is absolutely free, and all are welcome. Brought to you by Inspire FM and proudly sponsored by Luton Borough Council. This is an event that you won't want to miss. Mark your calendars and get ready to celebrate Inspire Eid this Eid al-Adha at Stockwood Park. Remember, dates are subject to moonsight. For more details, visit inspirefm.org. Together, let's make unforgettable memories.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton? For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Lee Grade Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and megaflow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. Or log on to leegrave.net. We're an Interpart approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Lee Grave Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
Preparing for Hajj with Inspire FM. When booking a Hajj ticket, ensure that you book with an agency authorized by Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. This is to protect yourself against fraud and untrusted organizations. For further protection, pay with a credit card instead of a debit card or bank transfer. Get as many details as you can about the Hajj package, such as the hotel, meals, and transportation.
Celebrate in style at the Grand Royale, Luton's premier banqueting hall, offering elegance, luxury and seamless event planning. Host up to 750 guests with top-tier catering, stunning decor, photography, videography, hair and makeup, DJ, dance floor and expert event management, all under one roof. Whether it's a wedding, birthday or corporate event, let's witness the happy family moments together. Call 01582 551913 or visit grandroyale.co.uk today.
In the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, something extraordinary happens. Millions of Muslims retrace the footsteps of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam as they perform Hajj and Qurbani for the sake of Allah. For Muslims across the rest of the world, there are no days in which righteous deeds are more beloved to Allah than those performed during these 10 days. Give now and don't miss out on the unmatched rewards of the 10 best days. Visit islamicrelief.org.uk.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 7:30.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Parenting Show on Inspire FM. Ridwan, are you still with us?
I am indeed.
Okay, fantastic. So carrying on before the ads kicked in, carrying on from our discussion, Ridwan, we were talking about the premise upon which we would like to nurture our children with of getting married. It can't be on the back of a highly sexualized society, and therefore it's just the hormones which are playing up, but rather it has to be a bit more substance to that.
Yes.
So moving forward from there, Ridwan, how do they navigate all of this? So, and the reason I ask you this is, again, we're looking at the environment.
Yeah.
I found people generally, and I'm not just talking children now, generally 2025, it's a very touchy-feely world we live in. It's emotions. It's all about how you feel.
Yeah.
It's not about how you think, it's how you feel. Does it feel right? Go for it. If you,
Yeah.
as long as you're happy, do it. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is slowly but surely anchors and compasses, whether that's a moral compass, a spiritual compass, a social compass, uh, whether that's a moral anchor, a spiritual anchor, or a social anchor, these have got no place in people's lives today. It's just all very much feeling.
Mm.
Um, how then do you instill some kind of anchor in our children who are looking for spouses? Because I tell you, for me, the most frightening thing for generations to come is not the fact that there will be an increase in marriages, but
Mm.
there will also be an increase in divorces, and even further than that, and I'm sure we are witnessing it right now, an
Mm.
increase in the resistance to now settle down.
Yeah.
I know of people in the community who have come to me 39, 40 years old, their children have got, and are reluctant to get married. uh,
Yes.
and it's all about feeling. It's all about, it doesn't feel right, or does feel right, or it feels right, I have to. But I find there's no one's really giving any solid, clear anchors to what relationships are all about.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I see this as well. And again, it goes back to these ideas that are pushed out in society. One is individualism. Having a partner, you're tied down, weighted down, can't do the things you want to do. You can't enjoy your life. Having children, more responsibility, more costs. You can't go on your holidays, can't do this, can't do that. So you see these sort of ideas, and again, it's just the relationships are very superficial. It's that transactional. You do this, I do this, we do this together, but that's about it. And again, it's not about building the right thinking behind marriage, what it's there for, the continuation of the human race, building children who are going to be worshippers of Allah, establishing all the different relationships between a man and his wife, grandparenting, parenting, brotherhood, all of these different things that are there. And I think what is important is that parents, I think, have a big role to play in this, because a lot of these things, yes, there's things in society, the greater society, but some of this is also from our own sort of cultural backgrounds, especially from the Asian background. There are a lot of things that we do that aren't really Islamic and that actually produce the wrong sort of vibes in our children. A young woman might see her mother being, not doing very much, not being allowed to do very much, and get a negative reaction to men. They might see a messy family life. Men are being angry all the time. So again, a very negative way of looking at this. So this whole issue of sort of feminist ideas and misogynist ideas that are out there as well. So as
Yeah.
parents, I think it's really important to build the right sort of ideas, establishing ourselves, make sure that we have the right relationship with our wife based on Islam, and the journey basically to return to Allah, basically with the partner, and to return to Jannah, and then let our children see that as well, and guide them through all the different ideas that they might be exposed to.
So
Mm,
I'm gonna give you a one line now,
mm,
Dr. Ridwan, and it may sound a bit of a cliche, but I want you to tell me, what relevance has this really got in the world we live in today? So my second piece of advice, my first one would say, if your child comes to you, I want to get married because to protect me from zina. My first
mm,
piece of advice would say, tell them to go fast instead.
mm,
Okay, simply because of the environment, that's not the
mm,
correct basis.
mm,
Number two, and I don't mean it's not the correct basis that it will save them from zina. I just mean that in a highly sexualized society, uh, marriages are a very deeply enriched relationship other than carnal desires,
mm,
and that's important. My second advice that I would give is regarding this discussion that we're having about anchors. I'm going to give you a line now. It might sound cliche, but it's a very powerful, very, very soul searching, very true to the word. My advice to any child getting married, what actually this advice would mean to the child is a different matter. But my advice would be, if your partner, husband or wife, cannot get you over the finishing line in the next life, then what is the point of coming together?
Yeah.
I mean, that is very loaded, Dr. Ridwan, very loaded. What does that mean actually in day to day? And I want you to explore that. What does that actually mean in the reality of cost of living, in the reality of me, myself, and I, in the reality of, you know, I had my personal freedom before I met you. I could have gone. I didn't have to think twice about buying a car, and now I have to think twice about buying a loaf of bread. And actually, some of the broadsheets, Dr. Ridwan, have covered this. You know, the Times, the newspapers, the Times actually published an article, and the title was "I'd rather have a house than a spouse."
Yes.
Yeah. So, given all of that, how would you actually make sense of my second piece of advice to parents, to say to the children, if your spouse does not get you over the finishing line in the next life, do not consider him or her as a serious candidate to settle down?
Yes, that's right. No, I agree. So this goes back to a much more fundamental point, which is, again, that maturity of knowing what this life is all about. If our life is just about this dunya and achieving lots of wealth and what have you, and pleasure and having fun, then yeah, the first sort of all these pursuits of all these different things are fine. If, however, our understanding of life is that actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created us and has put us on this world for a limited amount of time in order to test us, and then we're going to meet Him and take account of everything that we've done in this life, and then it'll be eternal Jannah or Jahannam for us. If we have that in our minds, then what happens is that our view of life and what we want to achieve in life changes. And what we want to achieve in life is actually getting back to Jannah, getting back into the presence of Allah. That's where our father Adam was created. That's where we want to go back. And what will then do I need to help me get there? And there are obviously lots of different factors. And that comes back to following what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. I mean, if you want to get Allah's to get to Jannah, you got to get Allah's mercy, and the way to get Allah's mercy is by doing what He has commanded us to do, and that's His worship.
Sure.
Worship, unfortunately, isn't like a common understanding of worship is just praying and all of these things, but worship is the comprehensive in action of whatever Allah has wanted, and I think so. Part of that is marriage forms a part of that. It's about how to regulate and organize that particular instinct that we have and the companionship that we need. And then through that, all these other relationships that occur. So that maturity of understanding really needs to be thought out. And I think this is sometimes something that we miss. And I take your point that, what is marriage? We just reduce it down to just like the physical aspect and the satisfaction of that physical aspect, as opposed to the whole view of and how it fits into the grand scheme of getting back to Jannah. And this is, if you do it right, the hadith that talks about half your deen, it then helps you. This will help you get to Jannah. And I think that's something that we need to build in young people and have that.
Good.
Marriage is probably the most important decision that you'll make in your life.
Correct.
Probably after Iman itself, becoming, conscientiously deciding that you want to become a Muslim. I think after that, the second most important decision you'll ever make in your life is who you get married to, because they will literally help you get there and achieve that goal, or they will pull you back.
So I want to explore this a little bit more, Dr. Ridwan. An Islamic marriage, yeah. The lady wears the hijab,
Yeah.
the husband's got a beard. The first honeymoon is to Umrah. Then they get the
Yes.
halal mortgage,
Yes.
and then they they go to all these halal resorts in Turkey.
Yes.
And then, for me, I find that very hard
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
swallow. I'll
Yes.
tell you why. Because my mother, Allah bless her,
Mm.
I saw her stick through thick and thin with my father.
Yes.
She didn't have any of these things. She didn't have these
Yeah.
halal resorts to go to. She
Yes.
didn't have she didn't have any of these. And admittedly, that generation, they were not the touchy-feely
Yeah.
generation. Okay, so they had their setbacks. But one thing was sure, that the foundation upon which they built relationships was damn solid based on Islam. So
Mm.
even simple things like, if my mother and father hit a calamity,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be like, see, I told you it's your fault. It's all you're doing. You brought this upon us. You
Mm.
did this because, and it becomes marriage becomes a competition, not a
Yeah.
contribution.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this I've seen so rife in society around
Mm.
us.
Yeah.
Relationships are about competition, from
Mm.
who can do what best, who earns what the most,
Mm.
who has the best, who's the best at X, Y, Z, who has the better family. Even I've seen couples, argue over, well, your dad is like this, and your mum is like this, and your brother's like this, and your. I
Mm.
mean, really,
Mm.
really, is that what we've relegated marriage down to? A
Yeah.
competition of two, what's the word I'm looking for? Of two very strong, emotional, two nafs is the word
Mm.
I'm looking for. The two dispositions who are fighting constantly to get over each other, one over each other, rather than actually marriage is a contribution to
Mm.
something which is divine, something which is meant to be beautiful, something which is meant to be
Mm.
harmonious,
Yes.
something which is meant to build a home, not a house, uh,
Mm.
something which is meant to say, if someone makes a mistake, you don't hang them for it, you don't humiliate them for it, you actually see the positive of that mistake and say, oh, not to worry, it'll get done, we'll sort it out. And this I find is very so. Advice number 3 is, are our children ready to understand relationships on that perspective? When we say Islamic, see, for me, Islamic is not just the hijab, it's not just the
Mm.
beard, it's not just the honeymoon to Umrah. It's
Yes.
far, far, far more than that. And it's the
Yeah.
day to day. It's biting your tongue. It's seeing the
Mm.
goodness in your partner, even
Yes.
if they've done something that annoys you. You know why marriage is half your deen? Is
Mm.
because simple things like patience, like biting your tongue, like foregoing an argument even if you're right, that is half your deen.
Yes.
These characteristics build your half your deen. And if we forego all of them for the sake of something that's a big monster in our disposition to say, I'm right, you're right, and it becomes a competition, then surely our children are going to end up in another car crash of a marriage.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think this makes a point. Again, modern society has reduced marriage to just rights. This is my right. This is what I want. This is what I expect. And competition, as you say, there's a lot of that. And it takes away, and this is generally true for modern life, is that it takes away from the actual responsibility of people. Islam concentrates not so much on the rights, whilst it establishes rights, but it actually concentrates on what are you doing, what's your responsibility in this union, and as you say, what are you contributing? I mean, I've been married now for 25 years, and I had a young
Mashallah.
person at my my parents have been married for 50 plus years, and
Mashallah.
and I was speaking to a young man, a receptionist at my surgery, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm just about to get married. What advice would you give me?" And I said to him, look, one piece of advice I'd give you: when you get married, just keep working at it. Always keep working at it. Don't just, this is what I expect, and if I didn't get it, I'm just going to like go crazy. But just ask yourself, what are you contributing? What are you responsible for? And are you fulfilling your responsibilities? And I think that is, in a very individualistic society, that's taken away from these relationships, and you're in it together. And I think
Sure.
that's so. Any issues that arise, we want to deal with this together, and to help each other. And that's actually what the believers do, men and women.
Absolutely.
They help each other. And what better help can you get than your wife or your spouse?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Ridwan, Dr. Ridwan, we've got nice 10 minutes of some quick exchanges now, and let's start talking about practicalities. People will say,
Yeah.
oh, this parenting show, they're talking about a lot of background context, all of
Mm.
that. Let's talk about practicalities.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's going out there, she's working, something attracts the eye, which gets the heart going.
Yeah.
Okay. Practically tell me, what's the next
Yeah.
step?
So Islam has, this is the thing that some people sometimes don't understand, that Islam has actually the way to deal with this. It understands that the something may catch the eye and it may ignite the heart, but then there's ways in which you proceed. So if you think that this is going to be the right person, and again, this comes on the back of having a careful understanding of what it is that you want in a spouse. So
Absolutely.
I think young people, before they even, I mean, they really need to work this out, and we as parents need to help our young people from as early as possible. Really, I mean, my daughter's 13, and the other day we were just talking about the story of Musa alayhi salam and how he got married when he went to Madian. And she was saying, yeah, but that wasn't about marriage, was it? And I said, well, actually, it was a lot to do with marriage.
Yes.
And I explained that, what was the father of the young woman? He was very aware of that his daughter had noticed some very good qualities in Musa alayhi salam, and that she was suggesting, Dad, hire him. And then he was very aware of that. So then he did his own investigation into Musa and sat him down and say, okay, you're in my house. What happened to you? What's your story? So he was asserting, and then he challenged him, like, go and work for me. And so what you see is that parents need to be aware. Children, we need to start talking to our children, get them to understand what marriage is all about, identify what are the must-haves, and then what are the extras, and then I think the danger that often happens is that young people, they go down the route of where they become emotionally attached, and as soon as you become emotionally attached, unfortunately, that's when your head doesn't work. Your thinking stops,
Sure.
and that's the danger. And I think that's really important, that if you know what you want, that might be someone who you think is suitable, then approach your guardian, approach someone, and get them to take over, to investigate. And I think this is really important because one of the things that they especially in the West, this idea that try before you buy, and how do you know that this is going to work out? You don't know who this person is. The reality is that we don't know who. That's why
Yeah.
you do your homework, and it's really important to
Yeah.
do
I've
your
got
homework.
some. I'm sorry, Ridwan. I've got some breaking news. My daughter's just texted me saying, please clarify, this is hypothetical. Absolutely, Amy. We are not talking about you when I say my daughter. This is absolutely hypothetical. I have a lot of pride in my daughter, that she has the right bearings and the right moral compass to make the right decisions in life, inshallah. So definitely don't get worried at all.
Yeah.
Advice, no. So next, practicality. The eyes see something, the heart feels. Approach mom and dad.
Yeah, so approach mum and dad. You see, one of the things you want to find out about this person, is this the right person? Obviously, you'll have your own ideas, but you want to get as many views as possible, because everyone's going to have a different view, a different perspective. Your brother will have a perspective on this person. What is this man like? Is he a good man? Has he got morals? Has he got character? Your father will have a perspective. Will this man look after my daughter as I look after my daughter? Your mother will have a perspective. Is this someone who will love her daughter? Your friends will have a perspective. So if you are someone who's mature, you'll actually try to get as many perspectives as possible, and of course you will then ask Allah for help as well, and guidance, and to
Brilliant.
make this, because at the end of the day we can only do so much, and it comes to a point where you then have to say, I leave it in the hands of Allah, istikhara to Allah, that I've done the best that I can to find out who this person is, and it's a good match for me, but the
Okay.
rest is up to you.
So let's carry on with the journey. So we've dealt with the eyes and the heart. We've dealt with speak to mum and dad. Then what happens? Mum and dad then do what?
So mum and dad, so we're talking about the young sister. So mum and dad will obviously, if they will meet the young man, they can organize all of this. And if they're happy that this is someone who is suitable for their daughter, and obviously the young man is interested, and then we go further. But it's all done openly. There's nothing secret. There's nothing hidden. I think this is one of where the problems all arise. Marriage is something which is open, which is celebrated. It's not to be hidden and not to be done secretly.
So just for the sake of our listeners, Dr. Ridwan, that bit about mum and dad approaching his mum and dad or her mum and dad, that doesn't mean that that's the final deal done.
No.
Correct? Because the two parties have to be clearly satisfied in their heart and mind that they are making the right decision. So what, in terms of from Islam, how can these two people get to know each other? And I will use it in a halal way. How do they do this?
Well, this is it. So Islam actually encourages you to look and to meet and to find out the questions that and remember what I said right at the beginning, is that a young person, before they're thinking about marriage, should have an understanding of what they're looking for. What are the needs and what are the extras, the wants, and what must-haves and the wants. So you can arrange in a sort of supervised way, not privately, not like dating and none of this sort of stuff, but organized by the parents in someone's house, in someone's front room. The two can meet and they can discuss those issues which they're looking for. Do you fit the bill? What are your views on this? And we're not talking about superficial things like where'd you like to go on holiday and this or that, but much more, again, it goes back down to that maturity of what you're looking for will also determine the questions that you're asking, and does this person fit that? But that can be organized by the parents in the full knowledge of the parents in a certain environment where there's supervision.
And I think this aspect is so important, Dr. Ridwan. I'm seeing more and more that the parents are just there like a rubber stamp, and they're not participative of the whole process. And some people may find that, oh, that's a bit intrusive, that parents are involved from A to Z. But that's almost like your wisdom sat on a load of emotions, correct?
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's strange, isn't it, that people who are older parents, we've lived life. We've seen this. We've seen past the facade and the initial good looks and the behaviors and all. We've lived life and we've dealt with all of this. Why wouldn't you want, if you're serious and you're mature, why wouldn't you want that opinion? It's not that to say that we can force anything. Let's be clear. You can't force your child to marry anyone. But again, if you have that open mind and a sincere heart that I want to find the right person for me, I would want to get as many opinions as possible and be guided in that direction.
Dr. Ridwan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I do not feel that we have concluded on many matters when it comes to relationships. I would love to have you on again later on in throughout the next coming months to talk about many other issues related to relationships. And it's not just it's the day of the wedding itself. Oh, how much we spend and all the rest of it.
Yes,
There's a
there are
whole
many
lot
challenges.
there's
Many
a whole lot
challenges.
to explore. But please, my heartfelt Jazakallah khair to you, Dr.
Barakallah
Ridwan,
fik.
and to the listeners. And I hope to have you on very soon again. Jazakallah
Inshallah.
khair.
Thanks for having me on. Jazakallah
You're
khair.
very welcome.